Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanctuary. I'm Professor C, and today we're going to continue looking at A and P. Specifically, I'm going to cover skin color and skin disorders as part of the integumentary system. So, let's get to it. So, to begin our discussion of skin color, we have to understand something about solar radiation, especially UV radiation. So, you've probably heard this before, but the sun spits out UV waves, and these can be dangerous. And we'll talk about them a little bit more in the next chapter when we get into skin cancer. So, the most intense radiation from the sun, including the UV radiation, happens at the equator because the sun hits the earth most directly at the equator. The further you get from the equator, the more north you go and the more south you go, you get a lower angle of sunlight, and so you get lower intensity of this radiation. So we have lessening intensity the further we travel away from the equator. Okay, so think about humans, and again, we can get into the story in another talk at another time, but according to the models, it shows humans evolved somewhere in Africa. Somewhere in here, perhaps. Right along where we would find, an equator, somewhere like that. I drew my line a little wiggly, but hey, we get the point. So if you notice there, the darkest skin colors of indigenous people, that is people who are native to that area, the darkest skins are found near the equator. And as you move away from the equator, the skin colors of humans gets lighter and lighter and lighter. And when we're in the very far north, it becomes what we call white or pale. So how did this happen? If the original condition of humans was probably a brown color, and it's probably true based on a lot of evidence and a lot of research, that the original skin color of humans was a dark brown. Well, what happened? Well, you can sum it up in a series of steps without getting into each step specifically. If you'd like to look at this more, I've given you some key words here. So at some point, humans became bipedal. That is, we moved from walking on all fours to walking on two legs. And in doing this, it created warmth, a lot of warmth for our head. So we started losing not only some of the hair on our head, but a lot of the hair across our body. So bipedalism led to hair loss. This, of course, if the hair is being lost, exposes our skin. So we had pressure when we started migrating away from the equator to do something about it, evolutionarily that is. So we have reduced pressure in the lower UV wavelengths. As you head up more and more northern areas, there's a reduced pressure. So the pressure for lighter skin to produce more vitamin D becomes higher. As we migrated and mixed with each other, mixed with other societies, the skin became a kind of an in-between tone, in between totally white and totally dark, the further you went away. How long did this take? Well, it is arguable, but there is some evidence to show that as little as 100 generations is all that's needed to go from a darker tone to a lighter tone. And again, 100 generations would be approximately 2,500 to 3,000 years. But it's estimated it would take about 10 to 20,000 years for the coloration of a group of migrating humans to adjust to their latitude. Okay, there's a wide range of human pigmentation, and you can see all the different types on this image in one shot. It is primarily regulated by melanocytes that produce a protein called melanin, and we've seen this before in other talks. It allows you to have black skin color, brown skin color, darker yellows, reddish browns. So melanin is the primary pigment that causes darker skin. Now, melanin migrates to keratinocytes, and the idea is something like this. If you have a melanocyte here, I'll just put an M, making melanin, and you have a keratinocyte here, I'll put a K, and there's this little nucleus right there. What happens is the melanin migrates over the keratinocyte, and it creates this umbrella or this shield. And that shield is to protect the nucleus from UV damage. Again, we're going to see more about UV light in the next discussion on cancers. Freckles, as you see down here, moles, these are just local accumulations of melanin. Now, melanin's not the only thing that allows you to color your skin. On the left, we have a person with dark skin, but they're showing the palms of their hands, and it doesn't look black to me. It doesn't even really look brown. It looks kind of an orange color. And this is due to the presence of keratin. Now, it is sometimes pronounced keratin, but this is the keratin with the C. Remember, keratin with a K is a waterproofing protein. Keratin is how I say this, so I stress that it's different from keratin. Keratin sounds almost like carrot, and a carrot is orange. So yellows of the skin, oranges, which is very commonly seen in the palms and the soles, are created by keratin. Hemoglobin, a blood protein, is responsible for pinkish color of the skin. Especially if you have light skin already, you can see the effects of hemoglobin more than someone that has darker skin. So let's look at some skin coloring disorders and disorders of the skin. I don't want to show too many gross pictures, but I do need to show some of these for educational purposes. So melasma is irregular, hyperpigmented patches, that is, patches of darker skin among your normal colored skin. Sometimes this is called the chloasma of Faucier, the mask of pregnancy. Sometimes this is hormonally brought on, and some women who are pregnant do get this darker patches of skin on their face due to the hormonal influence. So we know it has some sort of hormonal link, but the ultimate cause is idiopathic. And idiopathic is a word that means we don't know what the cause is. The cause is unknown. Vitiligo, another patchiness of the skin, but in a different way. So this is a loss of pigmentation, meaning you used to have pigmentation, but it has gone away or faded. So this tends to occur on like the feet and the hands, like are pictured here in these images. The link is the immune system, but we know there are many factors in this condition, so we say the condition is multifactorial, although we do know that there is some link with the immune function. Rosacea, this rosiness, this red coloring, and again, if you have lighter skin, it's more pronounced than if you have darker skin. So this is a condition that causes blushing or blood vessels that are visible in your face. The cause is unknown. It's an idiopathic cause, but again, it may be linked to some sort of immunological dysfunction or overfunction, possibly. Tinea. Tinea is a genus of fungus. So tinea versicolor is caused by a fungus, and it is technically a yeast in this genus Malassezia. And it says here, another patchy skin condition with lighter and darker areas across the body. And this can be widely abundant. It's not just going to be found on the hands and the feet. Albinism, that is, when we hear the term albino, is the lack of pigmentation. So this is a genetic system, and there are many, many, many different ways that one can produce either little or no melanin. So there is not just one cause of albinism, but you see the same result, where you see pale colored skin, pale colored hair, sometimes pale colored irises. So we know it's a genetic mutation, but there are many genes that regulate melanin production, and you could do an entire talk just on that topic. Addison's disease. Now you may look at these people and think they look fine. They look like they look like they're white folks with nice suntans, right? They've got this nice bronze skin. But it turns out it could be because they've got a problem with their adrenal glands. So this is an uncommon problem when you don't make enough of a hormone called cortisol, and sometimes aldosterone is part of the problem as well. Now again, you see this guy in the middle. If you say he looks familiar, well, that's John F. Kennedy, one of the presidents of the United States. And he was possibly elected because he was, well, considered handsome by a lot of the women in the country. And they thought he was handsome primarily because of this nice bronze look to his skin. But it's not suntan. This is a classic sign. This bronzing of the skin is a classic sign of Addison's disease. Again, it has to do with adrenal malfunction. Something is wrong with the adrenal glands not producing enough of these stress hormones, cortisol and aldosterone. Cutaneous porphyria. It looks a little scary. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is sometimes referred to as the vampire disease, and you can probably tell why. This is a genetic disorder caused by the buildup of chemicals called hemes that are necessary when you're trying to create red blood cells. And, well, you've heard of hemoglobin. Hemes are chemical groups that are needed to produce the hemoglobin that's found in red blood cells. So if you have too much of this, it can cause issues, and you see some of them in these images here. These long teeth, these long fingernails, these blistering of the skin, especially in sunlight, you can get the blistering of the skin. So we have photosensitivity, blistering of skin and gums. Sometimes the hair will look strange. This person that's seen in the picture doesn't have any hair. But you can kind of see why this would be considered a monstrosity in some parts of the world, especially if you're in an uneducated part of the world back in, say, the 1500s, when no one would know what this was caused by. Yeah, furthermore, the urine in people with cutaneous porphyria may be dark or blood-colored, purple-colored urine, which would, again, be very scary to someone, say, in the 15 or 1600s. And then to top it off here, we have some possibly disturbing pictures of horns growing out of people. This can happen. It's called cornucutaneum or cutaneous horns. And they are uncommon lesions that are just keratinized tissue gone wild. And when they grow out and are left untreated for many, 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 many years, they do resemble animal horns. Now you could imagine back again in the 1300s, 1400s, what people might think of this, but those are grossly ignorant people, and they don't understand this is just out of control keratinized cell growth. Most of this can be removed in a modern society. Usually when you're young, you take care of this, and you just have it surgically removed. But these pictures are all of the condition that have gone on for years and years and years and years. All right. Hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for watching it. If you want to check out some of the other videos, feel free to do so. I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.